Hi.
I see you. Okay. Don't worry, you're gonna get stuff. Alright. Here's my bubbaroo. Hello, how's it going? Gonna wait a few more minutes here and let people jump on the live stream. You get to watch me put on an apron in the meantime. Which is the ultimate apron. How's everyone doing? How's the lockdown treating you guys? Anything you particularly miss that you wish you had these days? It's been what, like almost a month? Hi. I, for one, miss sports. That's such a generic guy thing to say, but I definitely miss sports. Hi. All right, while we're waiting for people to jump on board, I'm going to give some shout outs to cafes that are still open and operating. We have our Santa Monica shop, which is still open. We also have Found in Eagle Rock that's open. Okay, all right, there you go. Eagle Rock, Found in Eagle Rock Confidential Coffee down in Long Beach. Cafe Aficionado in Northridge, always slinging some great stuff there. Yang's Kitchen in Alhambra, they have amazing food and they just happen to serve our coffee, so they're still open serving food. You should definitely check out if you like Chinese food. Constellation Coffee, Handy Market in Glendale, and then Reverend Coffee Bar all the way down out in near Palos Verdes. So those are the shout outs. Few other things here. We are launching a CSA box program in Santa Monica, so if you're interested in getting a CSA box, produce, milk, eggs, the whole 9 yards, shoot us a message. We need to do like a 10 box minimum to get that going, and that will be something new that we could get you guys down there. I know that getting fresh produce is kind of a problem for a lot of people, so that's one way of doing it if you're in that part of town. And hi, you need to chill, sister. I know, they're apples. So if you're wondering why my dog is freaking out right now, she loves apples and we're going to be doing stuff with apples today, and she is just an apple junkie. So it's like catnip. Oh, doodles. So, all right, well, let's get started. Today we're doing something slightly different with from Brewing Coffee. We are going to make Persian Charoset, and I will get into what that is exactly in a second. It's Passover, and this is a Passover dish, so it's not quite brewing a drink, but it is making a Passover food, which kind of is, one of the themes of this whole segment is work with what you have at home, and we've talked about using what's in your fridge to make different drinks, and based on some of the principles we've taught in here. And this is kind of in that same line because Charoset is such an interesting food because culturally, depending on where you are in the world, people have wildly different recipes on how to make it, even though it is a staple on every Passover Seder that you go to anywhere in the world. I didn't realize how different it was because growing up, we always had our Persian Charoset in our home, and so I always just assumed that was the Charoset everyone used everywhere. And then I moved to Wisconsin for college, and the Charoset was so different. I went to an Ashkenazi service, and I was like, you call this Charoset? What is this crap? So when I was doing my research last night, I was trying to understand why there are so many different variations on what is supposed to be a religiously mandated dish. And boy, you can get really, really, really into this, into the world of Charoset. So very, very broadly speaking, and very briefly, Charoset is part of the Passover Seder dish, and I'm not even going to get into what that is. But basically, you have a bunch of different foods you need to eat in a particular order with particular prayers that are supposed to represent different things. And Charoset is the representation of the mortar that the Jewish slaves were using to build different things for the Egyptians. It turns out that Charoset isn't actually in the Haggadah, which is the sort of the guidebook for how to do a Passover Seder, but it was mostly implied and has just become an oral tradition throughout literally every corner of the world, which is super interesting because you'd think that it would be something that was, had a very strict recipe. And because there is no real recipe and it's not even mentioned in the Haggadah, people just kind of went in different directions with it. And so the further I looked into this, the more interesting it got, because it turns out that on Passover they sing this thing called the Song of Songs, which is a very, it really is a unique part of the Hebrew Bible in that it isn't, it really isn't a law or a covenant between God and Israel. Like, it doesn't explore wisdom. It's really just this conversation between a man and a woman. And honestly, it's a little sexual, and it's very, very, you wouldn't expect it in the Bible. Let's just put it to you like that. Now, in the Song of Songs, they mention all these different ingredients. So, for example, they say, I went down to the walnut grove, feed me with apples and raisin cake. Your cheeks are a bed of spices. The scent of your breath is like apricots. Your kisses are sweeter than wine. The fig tree is ripened. So all this allegorical references to different foods, which we find in the Charoset. And so a lot of people speculate that the actual ingredient list for Charoset is secretly embedded in the Song of Songs, which is what they sing only on Passover. And so that's where they get it. And I thought that was just super interesting. But as this sort of recipe is spread throughout the world, different people have their different takes on it. And so the typical Eastern European Ashkenazi tradition, it's basically just cinnamon, spices, apples, and walnuts kind of chopped up, almost like a salsa consistency. Whereas in the Sephardic tradition, it's almost like a paste, and it has a whole bunch of different ingredients, which we're going to get into in a second. I'm sorry if I'm rambling a lot today without making anything fun for you guys. But I always thought that was super interesting. And then when you do your research on this, some cultures in Latin America, the Jewish people out there, they put coconut in there. So it's really with whatever is in your area, whatever you can make with it. The basics are kind of the same. You want nuts, you want fruit, you want some spice, and you want some sweet wine, and blend it all together into whatever consistency you want, and then put some matzah on there, and you're good to go. So with that super long preamble, let's get into it. So this is my grandmother's recipe, so I'm sharing with you some family heirlooms here. So we're going to start with, and again, work with what you have. Hi, I see you. Yes, crazy pants. Here. So work with what you got. So we're going to, the recipe originally calls for pistachios, walnuts, and hazelnuts, and use about 40 grams of each, or as my grandmother puts it, a handful. I didn't have enough pistachios. I just had a few, so I looked around my pantry and I was like, oh, I still have a bunch of random macadamia nuts. So we're going to put some macadamia nuts, mix it in with the pistachios, add some hazelnuts, and some walnuts. And then we're going to throw in 6 dates. These are kind of small dates, so I'm going to use a bit more than the recipe calls for here. Make sure you use pitted dates or pit your own dates, but you don't want date seeds in this. That'll get a little crunchy, if you will. We're going to add a little bit of apple and pear. Peel your apples and pears. I use about 2 slices of each. Make sure you give your dog a goodie. There you go. We're going to add some cinnamon. Where'd my cinnamon go? There we go. I also read that in some Mizrahi traditions, the Sephardic traditions, they use 40 ingredients to represent the 40 years that the Jews wandered the desert after Exodus. And I looked everywhere to find a recipe with 40 ingredients, and I actually found just one. Kind of cheating. It was like, use 5 different varieties of apples and this kind of thing. I'll post it on our blog after this, but just so you know, you can pretty much put whatever you want in this. We're going to put in some raisins, about a cup of raisins. Let's see, what else am I missing here? Sweet wine, the Manischewitz, can't go wrong, right? And my grandma just kind of eyeballs this, so I'm going to eyeball this and just pour in just a little bit. And you can add more to taste and to get the consistency you're looking for. I'm going to add some pomegranate juice. Again, just eyeballing it. I know that's not really helpful if you're I would use less to begin with and then add more as you blend to see if it gets you the consistency you're looking for. And then just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And we are good to go. We're just going to hit the blender on this thing, and then I'm going to show you kind of how I like to eat it in a second. So here we go. Where's my lid? All right, let's do it. Grandma's secret sauce here. Nice, I knew how to use this thing. There we go. And then after you blend it a little bit, you probably want to check it, push the sides down. So just eyeballing this right now, I feel like I need a little bit more liquid, so I'm going to put a little bit more wine. And we'll see where that gets us. We're just going to push this down a little bit, get this going. Give your dog a goodie. There we go. And if you guys have any questions, like while I'm doing this, fire away. Am I seeing any connection issues on my end? I am not. Are you seeing connection issues on your end? Definitely getting there, but I still need a little bit more liquid, so I'm going to put in a splash of pomegranate juice. Let's see where that gets us. And so, just use what you got at home. Like I said, with everything that we do here, it's really about taking what you have in your pantry and trying to make something out of it. And as long as you have sort of the basic ingredients, nuts, fruit, spices, wine. You don't even need to use sweet wine. Just put some honey in there to sweeten it up at the end of it. So we're right about there. So I like it a little bit thicker, more pasty. You can do whatever you like to your taste, but this is kind of what it looks like at the end. It really does look like mortar. And so what I like to do at the end of it all, once I have my Charoset prepped, I feed my dog some more treats. Okay. So you're going to take your Charoset, give it a little mix. And you're asking yourself, Bobby, this is a coffee thing. How do you make this more hipster? I'll show you how to make it more hipster. Put your, probably put this in front of the camera. So we're going to put our Charoset on a piece of matzah. Spread it out. And how do we make this more hipster? Make it avocado toast. So I'm going to scoop out the avocado, put that on top of the Charoset. And this is basically Passover avocado toast, matzah, Charoset, avocados on top. I've seen people put cream cheese on this too. I'm not even making that up. And this is what you end up with. Super tasty snack. I can eat this all day. And again, as you're tasting this, you're like, hey, you know what? I want it with more apples. Add another apple in there. Blend it. You can just play with this. I've seen recipes with nutmeg. I've seen recipes with allspice, coconut, figs, dates, you name it, you can probably put it in this. I saw one with bananas. So I think one of the beautiful things about Charoset is that it can just take any form that you want as long as you kind of keep the basics intact. And it really is what you want culturally it to represent. And so let's take a bite. Oh, so good. My grandma will be proud. So that's Charoset in a nutshell. Sephardic Charoset. It's sweet, it's nutty, you have a little bit of the hint of wine, the cinnamon, it's all these really fun flavors. Passover represents the start of the harvest, so you're getting a lot of those beautiful spring flavors, which I think is just delicious. I hope this was fun and interesting for you guys. I promise we'll be back to our usual coffee and tea drinks the rest of the week. We got some great requests, so we're going to be doing our pistachio rose latte. We're going to be doing some stuff with French press, maybe just some basics on pour overs, and we'll be running through a bunch of other things. And what I'm hoping to do is also do some foods using coffee and tea. I'm not quite a chef, but I pretend like I'm one on TV, so we're going to play around with that as well. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope this was interesting. A little departure from our usual, but hopefully you found something fun to eat at home. And we will see you guys on Friday. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.